beautiful, you're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours, it's yours. You can have it all, yeah. Up early this morning, and I know God smiled on me. Ain't no time to sleep, no, no. I can't wait to start my day because I know it's gonna be beautiful like me. Hey, you're so beautiful, you're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours, it's yours. You can have it all, yeah. Hey, you're so beautiful, you're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours, it's yours. You can have it all, yeah. I look into my mirror, I love everything I see. Ain't no mistakes on me, no. I always remind myself there ain't no other me. Can't nobody else be. Hey, you're so beautiful, you're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours, it's yours. You can have it all, yeah. You can have it all, yeah. Hey you, hey you, hey you, hey you, hey you. Hey you, you're so beautiful, you're the truth, and you do it all so natural. You're so strong, and you show it anything. If you want it, it's yours, it's yours. You can have it all, yeah. Hey you. You can have it all, yeah.
And welcome to this week's edition of Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and Friends Radio on Take It to the Streets, Downtown Hot, and London Energy Radio. So I hope everybody is feeling fantastic out there today. So I'm feeling extra fantastic, Lady C, because as I was getting ready today, and I'm thinking, oh wow, tomorrow's July 4th already, boy, time's just going by. And then I came to the realization that today is our 1 year anniversary with Take It to the Streets Radio. Yay! Woo!
Big up.
Yes. Time passes. So, right, this time last year, we were 1 week away from interviewing Freedom Williams, the CNC Music Factory. We were getting ready to head down to the Parkway and cover the Wawa Welcome America Festival. Of course, we got to sneak in to Pitbull's dressing area last year, so that was exciting. And that was a phenomenal concert last year. So, of course, this year, Meghan Trainor and Jennifer Hudson are the headliners. So, girl power heading up at the Parkway. So, we're excited. So, normally I head on down. This year I have to work, and so it's so hot. I'm not feeling it. But I will be watching and from the air conditioning of my home. So, of course, we're getting ready to celebrate the 4th of July. July and America's birthday. But of course, we are still, we just wrapped up Pride Month, but for here at our show, we are always, regardless of the day, month, or week, celebrating all forms of diversity. And so we're doing an extended Pride since we were out of the studio last week. But as we get ready to celebrate our nation's birthday, let's not forget that how many civil rights activists, leaders, soldiers, slaves, built our country, have sacrificed their life, fighting for equality, a battle that we're still very much in the mix in. We're not where we need to be, anywhere close for all of our citizens feeling respected and protected under the law with the same rights and opportunities. So we're going to a little bit later get into what's happening with the immigration issue right now. Of course, our country was founded in revolution and built on immigration, so it's just so sad that everything that's going on right now that is. But I want to start to show off with paying note and respect. There's so many, just amazingly talented LGBTQ entertainers, groundbreakers, politicians, activists, business tycoons. So we just wanted to take a few minutes to continue the celebration of Pride and pay acknowledgement to some of the most influential LGBT entertainers who have really opened up doors, broken ground, and continuously are beacons of light and activism. Some are no longer with us, but they, of course, still deserve our acknowledgement and respect. So the first LGBT groundbreaker that we want to pay respect to and acknowledgement of is RuPaul. Of course, those of you who grew up in the 90s, now you just know RuPaul for RuPaul's Drag Race and a lot of the work that he did it has done in TV. But, RuPaul really was the first... Milton Berle, but Milton Berle wasn't LGBT. So RuPaul was really the first LGBT performer that just really crossed into pop culture in such a huge way. So, and became famous, in his drag queen persona. So, of course, RuPaul rose to fame and pop culture influence in the 1990s with his groundbreaking cultural juggernaut of a CD, Supermodel, which, of course, was everywhere, from MTV to shows all about fashion to award shows. And RuPaul was, of course, the first drag queen to be nominated for MTV Music Awards, Billboard Awards, Supermodel, and many of the hits from that CD were just everywhere. There was an iconic moment that year, I think it was 91, 92, where Milton Berle and RuPaul presented an award at the MTV Music Awards that year. So, of course, RuPaul really opened up so many avenues of entertainment and possibility to build careers for drag queens, LGBT actors, models, and has from the get-go been a symbol of being secure within yourself, embracing your individuality, and living openly and without apology for whatever your life choices are. And of course, another LGBT groundbreaker, well, we just mentioned RuPaul, and of course RuPaul opened up the door for Laverne Cox. So of course Laverne Cox has not only is a fabulous comedic and dramatic actress, fashion star, MC, and just does so many great things. But Laverne Cox is also, a real activist and leader in the LGBT and transgendered rights lane, and opening up the issues that to mass discussion, that unless you're walking in that life and that's your truth, you would not necessarily think of these things. And so we pay our respect to all the ground that Laverne Cox is paving. Another LGBT groundbreaker, Freddie Mercury. Not only was Freddie Mercury an amazing vocal talent, but Freddie Mercury really was the first mainstream rock singer to walk the lines of androgyny and sexual fluidity and not apologize for it. Freddie Mercury was bold and solid in who he was, and he didn't make any apologies for it. And he also kind of was a little bit on the awkward side. He was eccentric, and he lived by his own rules, and he didn't conform to what the music industry told him he should be as a lead singer of a major rock group, Queen. They, especially in the 80s, were very much about cookie cuttering the image of their singers, to fitting into a box, wear this leather jacket, dress like this, carry yourself this way. And Freddie Mercury didn't have any of that, so he really stood for people who felt maybe awkward, different, not accepted in their everyday life. They would look to someone like Freddie Mercury, who was bold and courageous and talented and magnetic, and just drew people together with his immense talent. There are few singers who have the vocal range and strength and artistry that Freddie Mercury had. He almost had an operatic tone. He really was the first. Queen in the 80s, they were the first group to merge musical genres, which later Jay-Z would do with Linkin Park, mixing rap and rock together. And now you see a lot of classical artists pairing with dance artists or rock artists. But Freddie Mercury and Bohemian Rhapsody, at the time, that was really new. It was something that the labels didn't initially get behind that. And on all fronts, Freddie Mercury really stood for sticking to your guns, knowing what your creative voice is, and just going for what you feel inside is what you want to express. So another groundbreaker on that note, we can't talk about LGBT groundbreakers and not pay our respects to Sir Elton John, who of course has been making amazing music, hits, and just challenging our thoughts since the 1960s. Elton John, of course, did the soundtrack to the original Lion King, which we're excited that Beyonce is doing the redo here soon. But of course, Elton John scored so many movies, has had so many hits, and through his career, he originally thought he was straight straight, then bisexual, then in the 90s found his partner and his love, and really came out that he was homosexual. And Elton John is an artist who is known for his decisiveness. He stands up for himself all the time, has high standards, he's flamboyant in his style, he's really a great showman. But Elton John, of course, started his own AIDS charity. Every year he gives, I believe it's called the Elton John AIDS Foundation. And every year around the time of the Oscars, he gives a black tie ball to raise funds. But of course, like Princess Diana and Elizabeth Taylor, Elton John was one of the first performers in the 1990s when the AIDS epidemic was really coming to the forefront, and we're still figuring out, well, how do we get it? How do we prevent it? How do we treat it? And at the time when people who had AIDS and HIV were treated as outcasts and people would run in fear, we had groundbreakers like Elton John, the late Princess Diana, and the late Elizabeth Taylor, who bonded together their superpower, activism, and cultural influence to create broad-reaching charities, to raise money, awareness, and also break the stigma. Because whatever you are going through, we all want, tenderness. We all want to be embraced. We all want to feel like human beings and need comfort. And, Elton John has been at the forefront of HIV activism, AIDS charities, and so many other charities, in addition to his multiple Grammys, multiple platinum albums, and just being a strong force in the music industry. So another LGBT groundbreaker that we want to pay homage to is the late and great George Michael. Of course, he originally started out as one of the founding members of Wham, which was one of Britain's biggest pop groups in the 1980s, with such hits as Freedom, I'm Your Man, Careless Whisper, Wake Me Up Before You Go. And George Michael in the 80s just influenced fashion, pop culture. He was one of the first really big male artists on MTV to use the visual medium of music videos to really create his image. So in the late 80s, when he was separated from Wham and went solo, he revamped his image, and it was all about the tight jeans and the leather jacket and the tight white beater t-shirt. And really, for a minute there, that was a big trend for men. And of course, as a solo artist, he had so many amazing hits like Freedom 90, Fast Love, man, and I'm blanking out right now. Father Figure, yes, saying I Want Your Sex, Faith, and Teacher, yes, I mean, and You Monkey, and then of course, George Michael was known for his amazing vocals, and really he had such a soulful sound. But then he was also known, for his fun, frothy kind of club hits. But in his personal life, George Michael suffered with depression. He was a bit of a man-eater, as you say, and, kind of struggled throughout his life to find that right match and love. And he passed away in about 4 years ago, and he he was one Elton John and George Michael and Freddie Mercury. They all were performers at Wembley Stadium at Live Aid in the 80s. So, George Michael just leaves behind such a legacy. He wrote and produced almost all of his own music, and just was so talented, and also had his own charities as well. And when he passed away, he actually gave a lot of his fortune to various children's charities, AIDS charities. And so, George Michael has been giving back to all communities, long after his passing. So now another groundbreaker, LGBTQ groundbreaker we want to pay homage to is Melissa Etheridge. So she was in the 1990s, of course, everybody was playing her songs, Come to My Window. She was part of Lilith Fair and the indie rock scene. And she was one of the first female rock singers in the 90s to really hit mainstream pop culture success. And Melissa Etheridge actually came out in 1993 at President Bill Clinton's first presidential inauguration. So I don't know what is more bold and badass than that. And Melissa Etheridge has really, since she came out in 1993, has been, really one of the leaders of activism in the entertainment industry for the LGBT community. And I think she was actually one of the first to really go public with her marriage and really break stereotypes, because, for those people who live in lanes of ignorance and not actually stepping outside of the world and just stereotyping and jumping to conclusions based on the narrow-minded things that they've been taught in the home. There's these stereotypes out there that, if you're LGBTQ, you're not commitment orientated, you're promiscuous, you're not about love, you're just about the clubs and popping around. And of course, anyone who actually lives outside of a cave knows these things not to be true. And of course, Melissa was really one of the first big celebrities to openly not only come out as gay, but also to be very open with all of her long committed relationships, which is also, when we're talking about pride and being ourselves and celebrating pride, I feel pride is not only intrinsically being who you are without apology, but being open with your life choices, who you choose to love, knowing that you don't need to apologize for that, and just inspiring other people through your daily actions to be free and confident within themselves. So the last LGBT groundbreaker that we want to shed spotlight to is one of my heroes and influences, the amazing mogul, entertainer, comedian, author, philanthropist, fab dancer, Ellen DeGeneres.
Woo!
Yes. So for those of you, who did my younger listeners, not to say I'm old, but for those of you who were little kids during the 90s, when Ellen had her sitcom, the Ellen DeGeneres Show, I believe it was called, and then later Ellen, which she was the main character, of course, and it was loosely based on her life, and Jeremy Piven, who later would come to mass fame through Entourage on HBO. At the time when Ellen realized in her real life what her sexuality was, and she wanted to be open and come out with it and have it incorporated in the show. At that time in the 90s, you didn't have any mainstream shows that had gay characters or all gay characters or transgendered characters. There hadn't been shows like The L Word, Queer as Folk, and Orange is the New Black, and all these shows now that we just take for granted that are part of our pop culture. In the 90s, entertainment executives did not want to put their money creatively towards the LGBTQ community. They thought it wouldn't get ratings, people wouldn't accept it. Of course, this was right in the middle of the outbreak of the AIDS epidemic, and there was a lot of stigmatism, and we were right at the time where Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and the issue on the table with gays being able to openly serve in the military, and all the things that were swirling around in the political arena, and so the networks weren't making a programming that was directly marketed to the LGBTQ community. They just weren't. So when Ellen rolled in and said, look, I know that I'm gay. I want to incorporate it into my TV show. I want to incorporate it in the plot. That was a big and a revolutionary idea at the time. And Ellen literally laid the groundwork for every LGBTQ TV show that has been on any major network to happen. She came out in Time magazine. She received so much backlash. She actually had the first female kiss on TV with Brooke Shields. That was such a huge deal. I don't understand why, but at the time where we were in our pop culture, everybody was up, oh my God, and this and that. And then, of course, later Roseanne would go on to copy that in her show's plot line with Sandra Bernhard. And then slowly you had shows like Noah's Ark on cable TV, and all these shows, and Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, the original cast, which was one of the first mainstream shows to hit pop culture, and really in its own way also laid groundwork for RuPaul's Drag Race, because you have to have these first shows to open up people's minds when they're closed, to then lay the ground for all the shows and artists and actors to be able to get their shine and spotlight. So, Ellen DeGeneres, not only has she now become a groundbreaker in TV broadcasting as a talk show host, and again, she has lived loud and out and proud in love with her wife Portia de Rossi, again showing that there are all types of healthy and committed love. But Ellen has also opened up the door for many talented artists, gay, straight, children, does so much charity work, and again is someone who just authentically walks to the beat of their own drum, and then everybody followed. So all these groundbreakers also, are lessons in pride and celebrating your freedom, and also recognizing the preciousness of our freedoms and not taking it for granted. And as we say all the time here on our show, the power of love, of loving oneself, loving each other, and being open and not judging. And I challenge everybody every day to, lead more with love than judgment. Love a little more, judge a little less. So we're gonna start our first musical break. So all of today's show's music is basically all pride and love based. Well, we're always love based here. Love, woo! All right. So we're starting it off with, of course, last week, Mary J. Blige killed it at the BET Awards. So I don't think of any more suiting song to start off this part of our show. So we're going to take you out from first musical break with Love, One by Mary J. Blige and U2. And we'll be back after our break, and we're going to talk about all the headlines happening in the worlds of music, politics, and fashion. So keep it locked into Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and Friends. And remember, we are one love, and we all deserve to feel and express love in all around the world.
Is it getting better? Or do you feel the same? Will it make it easier on you now? You got someone to blame. You say one love, one life, it's one need, and one love, get to share it. Leaves you, darling, you don't care.
Disappoint you or leave a bad taste in your mouth? You act like you never had love, and you want me to go without. Well, it's too late tonight to drag the past down into the light. Temple Everybody's
And welcome back to Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and Friends Radio. So we're jamming to one of our favorite Patti LaBelle throwbacks, New Attitude. And of course, Patti has a lot to celebrate because yesterday the mayor and other media and government officials renamed part of Broad Street, which is right in the cultural district of Center City. Between Broad Street and Spruce Street is now Patti LaBelle Way. Yay! So, of course, Patti LaBelle is not only a groundbreaking and acclaimed singer, she's also an accomplished author, and of course, both fiction and her biography, and of course she has her cookbooks, and she's also an accomplished actress. She had a bit part in, I believe it was The Color Purple. I was either The Color Purple or Ragtime. And then, of course, she played Dwayne Wayne's mom in A Different World. So Patti LaBelle is just such an amazing performer, philanthropist, has opened up so many doors. So it is about time that Philly honored her with her own street. Yes. So now, of course, in other music news, Raphael Sadiq just confirmed that this August, Tony will be releasing a new CD. Of course, they came to fame with such big hits as It Feels Good, and they just had so many great hits. And Raphael actually had a group, I forget the name of it, with Dawn from In Vogue. He's an Oscar and Grammy winner for producing and writing for multiple other artists, scoring the musical scores of many award shows. So we're excited that we're going to be hearing some new music. And of course, in new music news, Brandy, it just announced that she'll be releasing a new song called Love Again, July 1st. It just happened. I missed it. Okay. All right. I got to dig into that. That'll be on next week's show. So, of course, her last album was released in 2012, 211. And Meek Mill just announced, this is so exciting. So Meek Mill just announced that he is now the co-owner of Lids, North America's largest hat retailer. Yes. So every time you go to the mall and you buy your baseball hat from Lids, you're supporting Meek Mill. And even more exciting is he will actually have a big role in the design and development. So Meek Mill is going to develop his own line of baseball caps that are slated to be released through Lids in August. So I'm just so excited to see so many artists diversify into the world of business and creating their own brands and more opportunities for other people and just expressing themselves and showing that you can be more than one-dimensional in entertainment. So I think that is just fabulous. I'm not really a baseball cap girl, but I will go to Lids and I will buy one of Meek Mill's hats and sport it just out of love and support for all he is and stands for and does for the community. So now, of course, another amazingly talented artist who uses his platform for good things, Pharrell just surprised 114 school graduates from Harlem's Promise Academy with 114 internships next summer at his company. So Pharrell actually gave the commencement speech at their graduation education. And in the speech, he was talking about the importance of opportunity and not only being woke but awake. And part of being awake is creating opportunities for our youth. And so after they complete their first year of college, so they have to complete their first year of college, then all 114 graduates of this year's class of Harlem's Promise Academy in Harlem will have secured internships in Pharrell's many companies and creative endeavors. So I think that is fantastic. So we talk about not only talking the talk, but walking the walk. And here are some examples of some great men and artists who are doing both. So we applaud that. Woo! And woo! You know, empowerment is creating education and opportunity and choices for those around you. So again, we applaud. And now, somebody that I'm not so much applauding right now is Chris Brown. So Chris just stuck his foot in it again. You know, I'm always cheering for him. I love his music, but we do know sometimes that Chris will kind of get on the raunchy side. And so he just released his highly anticipated new CD, Indigo, which he's been leaking, songs from over the past 2-3 months, and he's just launching a new world tour as well. So, and of course, he has his clothing line, his athletic clothing line, Black Pyramid Clothing. So, he's doing a lot of good things there. His CD actually is kind of groundbreaking because it's 35 songs. So, this is like a box set in one. He's already released some of the videos. But what everybody is upset about and up in arms, and whether you're a woman or color or not, what he put in this song is totally ignorant. So people are lashing back at his new song called Need a Stack. So I'm going to try and clean this up as much as I can, and the words that he used I will not use. So basically, he says in the lyrics of this song that, he wants a black bee that has good hair, and is attractive. And so, of course, a large part of his fan base is African American women. And of course, we've talked about this a lot on past episodes and shows. Many women, even if you're not a woman of color, we're sensitive about our hair. Our hair is what, makes our look. And if you're going through alopecia or scalp psoriasis or any condition that is making you, like cancer, lupus, thyroid issues, anything that is affecting your hair growth, making you lose hair, you're sensitive anyway. Because it's also how we, so I don't know anyone from Tennessee, but I'll catch you later. Anywho, our hair is also a part of ourselves, our esteem, our image, as we move through life and work and all things. And if you don't have beautiful hair, if you can't grow hair back, if you have various issues, you're self-conscious as it is. But within the African American community, and he should know better on so many levels, there is, a lot of back history there, shall we say, in a broad statement, where, tied into racism and bigotry, where, women were made to feel by racist people that they that they were not as beautiful because of their hair, and that was another undertone of saying because of your race you're not as beautiful as. So for a black man to come out and say this is outrageous and reckless and irresponsible. So then, of course, when everybody was clapping at it, Chris, instead of saying he's sorry, actually comes out and says basically that he only wants to have sex with with good-looking women, and good and attractive women only want to have sex with attractive men. So basically he's saying, like, shut up, you wouldn't date some ugly guy or some guy that's bald or this or that, and only ugly women are going to get upset by what he said.
I don't think nobody thinks they ugly.
Right. Now this is so ignorant on so many levels. At so many levels. And I mean, man, I have been pushing for Chris Brown for a good minute there. And now I'm like, Chris, what the bleepity bleep 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 bleep? This is so ignorant. And how do you insult all black women by saying that? Because really, he's dated a lot of, most of his girlfriends are African American. Right, which is what they were also saying, like, what the heck? Like, so then he's insulting all of his past girlfriends, and then it says, like, well, what's his definition of good hair? You know, he's not even weighing in on that. And since when did Chris Brown become the judge of good hair? Well, does he have beautiful hair? Hold on one second.
He just starting. He just.
Hello?
Hi, Laura?
Yes, you're calling in on the wrong number.
I know I called on the other number that, Angelo had the other guy
Hold on, I'm on air right now. You're on air. Let me go to a musical break. Well, okay, we'll be right back after this. Okay.
I try to discover a little something to make me sweeter. Oh, baby, refrain from breaking my heart. I'm so in love with you. I'll be forever blue. Bet you give me no reason why you make me work so hard. That you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no soul. I hear you calling. Oh baby, please give a little respect to me. And if I should falter, would you open your arms out
And
Give
welcome back
a
to
little
Style and
respect.
Empowerment Chat with Laura and Friends Radio on Downtown Hot, Take You to the Streets, and London Energy Radio. So we're having a little technical difficulty for a second, but we are so excited to welcome our featured guest, Katrina Walker, who has such an amazing story to tell. She is an author, playwright, motivational speaker, business mogul, and self-made millionaire. So welcome to the show, Katrina.
Hi, thanks for having me, Laura. I'm happy to be here.
So you just have such an amazing life journey to share. So, you grew up, of course, in Ohio and Memphis, Tennessee.
Actually, I was brought up in Tennessee, in Memphis. I was born in Akron, Ohio. And my mother came right back to Memphis when I was like a little newborn baby. So, yes.
Yes. And so now, of course, from a young age, you had an entrepreneurial spirit.
I did. I really believe in my mind that I was born to be, of course, y'all are. I was born to be who I am, even as a little girl. Just knowing that, things should be better. A 4-year-old child, knowing that it would ask questions, why not? When my mother would tell me, we were home, I couldn't have certain types of food.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was almost like forbidden. And I'm like, why? How come? I always thought that everybody should be able to, not these people over here or that person over there. I always knew that everybody should be able to live and do good, and be all right. That was my mind concept. So as a little girl, I knew how to go out there and figure things out, how to make it, how to make money and make things better.
And of course, that is the essence of freedom and empowerment. And I said, learning how to make money and create options for yourself really is the definition of empowerment.
Absolutely, it is. And again, like I said, when I was 4 years old, and my grandmother, I can just still see her in the kitchen because we all lived in one little, they called them duplexes back then, a small house, and she would be beating up eggs, and she would put milk in them, not just to make them fluffy, Laura, but to make them stretch. Even if we had family members visiting from up north, to stretch them. And I was a little girl, and I knew, hey, I've already, at 4 years old, I had to figure things out. Like, when I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm going to go across that street to Miss Berline's house, because I knew that she was going to cook a big breakfast for her kids. And I knew that with my personality, when I knock on that door, they're going to let me in, and they're going to offer me some bacon and some eggs and biscuits, and I just knew where to go to get my food, Yes.
So it's a really, I always say, and I'm sure we have this mindset in common, that our obstacles are really what gives us strength and tools to navigate through life. So, when we're going through our times when we're really struggling and doing without, the gift of that is it teaches us resourcefulness.
It does. It really does. And like I say again, I don't think that in this world that you should accept no. And even if someone tells you no, you can't have, or no, you can't, there's no such thing. Here in America, you can get whatever you want. Okay, I do tell people you got to get off your butt and make things happen.
Exactly.
I'm not falling out of the sky to get your head, but you got to get up and do something, and it'll happen. You plant a seed and you nurture that seed. You go back and you water and you give it plenty of love. Something's going to eventually bloom. It's going to blossom up. And that's with anything that.
Now, did I read correctly that growing up in Tennessee in the 1960s, that your grandfather met Martin Luther King Jr.?
My grandfather was actually one of the sanitation workers, which they didn't call them sanitation workers back then. They called them garbage men. They had no respect for them until they decided to go on strike. And people saw how it was to not have their trash picked up. But my grandfather was one of the, what they called, again, garbage men back then. that Dr. King came to Memphis to help, help these men, to show that they are men too, and to help them with the job that they were doing. So yes, my grandfather, he was just that proud man and so happy. And I was that little girl. I was that 10-year-old little girl when he got assassinated, got killed right here in Memphis. So I remember that night so well, and all the screaming and the hollering, even from my mama, and just grown people, a little girl just hearing all of the screaming and the shouting and the cries and the fires, because they were burning up things, and it was just all kind of stuff going on in Memphis, Tennessee. So I was her. I remember that night oh so well.
Wow.
And I wrote about it. It's all in my book.
Yeah.
Unbreakable.
Yes, which I'm so excited to get into in a moment. Now, you walk in so many lanes, which, of course, as women, we are all phenomenal and can be many things at the same time. So now, talk to us a bit about the Rainbow Kids Learning Center.
Well, what happened with Rainbow Kids is that I was working for Federal Express, and the owner, it was a young company at the time. It was 10 years old. So I got on there through a temporary agency, and I had been told that, if you apply for a job through a temporary service, and you go in there and you mind your business, you do a good job, they'll open up permanent positions, and you can apply for them. Well, that did happen. I went in and I worked my butt off. I was a young girl, and I went in and I worked my butt off. I needed a job so bad. By then, I have little children, and I have this husband that was out cheating and taking whatever money we had and spending it on God knows what. So here I go again, up and down, So I bid for this job, and I'll never forget hearing two girls, because they would separate the people that work for Federal Express, the permanent employees, from the temporary employees. So the job came open, and I just remember applying for the job and being in their employee cafeteria and overhearing two girls at a table saying, one saying to the other, I sure hope she gets that job so she can buy her some clothes. And it kind of hurt my feelings.
Wow.
At the same time, I didn't even have time to worry about that. Of course, they dressed nice, and I was happy for them, but at that time, I had no money. Whatever little money I had to spend it on my little children, like buy my little boy some tuck-in jeans, figures, or something to that nature, But I was really having it hard. But I'm going to tell you something. They interviewed 80 people.
Wow.
And out of those 80 people, they were only hired 10. And you know what? Those girls spoke life into wood, and they spoke that job into existence for me, because they hired 2 women and 1 was me. 10 people out of 80 people, I got the job. So again, remember Fred Smith coming out and he used to talk to us, and we would huddle around him. The owner of Federal Express, and he would talk about his plane and going on, moving up in his company. They called it upward mobility, moving from one department to another and just moving up. But I knew then, I used to think to myself, thank you, Mr. Smith, but I don't want to grow old. I don't want to work here for the rest of my life and be an old lady and just retire here at Federal Express. So I was thinking, if you can fly planes all around the world while people are asleep, and people work nights, who keeps people, children? By then I have 4 kids, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking to myself, I knew that I was a doggone good mother. People trusted me. They loved me. I said, you know what? And nurses and doctors' children. So, I thought about opening up a daycare center, but I didn't want to open up a regular center. Most of them open from 6 o'clock in the morning, close at 6 in the evening. I said, you know what? I'm going to open up the first ever 24-hour child care center where he has cargo going out. I'm going to have precious cargo. And that's how I marketed. And I started the first ever 24-hour child care center where children would roll in and they would roll out, and I gave the best service to the parents. And it was really, it started off slow, but it just took a really high peak, and it just boomed and it took off.
And really, that's such a revolutionary idea. And so many working moms out there have turned away job opportunities that would leverage them to a higher place because they can't find child care at those hours. Many women are working and good child care, which is important. Not only child care, but as you said, Katrina, good child care. And many.
Me being a mother, I knew exactly what they needed and what they wanted. Being a mother, being a woman, I knew, that as being a mother myself, I wasn't going to leave my children anywhere. So they needed to be in a licensed facility, a good facility, a clean facility where I could work, or that mother could work and be, comfortable knowing, my baby is okay.
Right.
I mean, my baby is not being abused. My baby is not being misused.
Which also, if I could just say, you were really providing a crucial element of supporting other female entrepreneurs and businesswomen to be able to focus on their job, their talent, and their business, and moving up the ladder where they didn't have to worry half of their mind all the time about the safety of their children.
Absolutely. That was my exact concept, because I knew, like I say, as a mother, being working words about your child, your children, and especially people that work odd hours, just can't up and 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, but they got to have their child, and they know that they got a place to take their child, so they won't have to take off the work and lose their job. So yes, it was phenomenal. It worked out so perfectly well, and I was able to, because Federal Express had what they call a hub facility, where they sort the packages out at night, and people go in like at 11 o'clock at night, get off at 4 or 5 in the morning. So that worked out really for our parents that worked in the hub facility.
Now, of course, you also have multiple real estate investments and your own film production company. So talk to our listeners about how you merged from, a successful business entrepreneur to investing and creating your own production company.
Well, what happened was, with the daycare center, I started out with, my grandmother used to always say, crawl before you walk, Katrina, and she used to love using my middle name, when things were important to her. So I just always remember, we call her Maria. I could remember Maria saying to you guys. So I started out with 3 rooms with the daycare center, and I had what they call a slumlord. You wouldn't fix things, but I would always try to keep my place really nice, right? So I just remember going out, and I said, you know what, I can never go back to the place that I was. I got to build my own daycare center. And that's when I went and purchased property. I purchased 9 lots, okay? And I started building my own daycare center. And I'm not going to tell everything that's in my book.
Sure, of course.
And read the book. I want them to read that book, and they'll see what happened, the transition of me trying to build my daycare center and all the things that I went through. It was not easy. It was rocky. Because I married again. I went from one husband, being married 20 years, a teenage bride, to marrying someone else again, an architect, and he stole my money. So I always had to go down and figure it out and start all over. But that's where the property came in. I bought that property and bought other land. So, and then the production company, that came later, after writing my book. And my mother passed away. And I can't give it all out again. It's all in.
Sure. And of course, the name of Katrina's inspiring book is Unbreakable: 5 Husbands Homeless to Self-Made Millionaire, the Katrina Walker Story. So now, Katrina, in the book, you, of course, would you share with us, you were homeless for a period of time. You dealt with domestic abuse as well. So can you talk to our listeners a bit about, how you kept your sense of self and not giving up, and then coming through the other side to be, healed, productive, and empowering other women?
What happened was, the shoes that I mean, it's so many hats that I wore during that time. Being a teenage bride, leaving school, coming back to Memphis to get married to this fella, and going right into a family. When you're a teenager, as a woman, you're 19 years old. What do we know? What did I know?
We think we know everything, but we don't.
I wanted to get married, and I always thought that I was going to be June Cleaver. I really did. I thought that I was going to have this house and have this wonderful husband and a couple of kids. And, this man would come home at night, and I would, every time I hear a car door, I would run to the window, the door, to peek out to see if that's him, and daylight would come. And I didn't know what to do, and I finally called my mother, and she was a customer. She just tells you just like it is. She's no longer with us, but she was a beautiful woman, but she shot straight from the hip. And she would say, Trina, lay back down, don't call me no more. He would be in there with a long A line. You know, she was letting me know that he was laying up with another woman, you know? And I just went through all of that, and when I would ask him, you know, where had he been, and I can just remember one time, you know, he was so mad. I, you know, was young, and I just ran into my children. Then I had 2 children, a little boy and a little girl. They were 3 and 4. And I slammed the door and locked the door, and, you know, just because I asked him where had he been, and threw my children up on the top bunk bed, my little girl, my little boy, and I got on the bottom bunk bed, and he kicked that door in. I'll never forget that. And when he kicked that door, you could hear the frame coming down. And my little boy was 4 years old. He saved my life. He hollered out, Mama, duck! Because I didn't see an iron coming. He threw an iron at my head. And it came flying past me as I ducked and landed inside the wall. But, you know, that was just one thing. And just seeing all the abuse, even with my mother, the things that I saw her go through, that's why I thought my life was different. When I stayed with him and we stayed down, just no money. You know, like I said, he would take whatever money came in, and he owed people. People would be knocking at our door, like they used to call them loan sharks. So, again, a lot of this and all of this is in my book, you know. But, you know, I tell women, you know, I stayed in that marriage 20 years. It was my children, looking at my kids and knowing that, you know, they're not supposed to be like this, you know. I want them to go to things simple as Disney World one day. And as long as I'm with him, and I realize they will never ride in that coffee cup. Just a cup. I just imagine my children riding in a cup at Disney World. And that's going to happen as long as I'm with this man. So 20 years, it finally came to, I'm telling you, when we were homeless. And I can just remember being at people's houses and pretending that I'm visiting, but really didn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah, you were seeking refuge.
Picking them up and putting them in a 15-passenger van with 2 seats, 2 big black garbage bags, whatever I could put in it to take my kids to. You know, we're going somewhere, but I don't know really nowhere. We have nowhere to go. And just, I can remember what my breaking point was. Laying on someone's floor with my children, picking my youngest daughter up. Now I have 4 children. Picking my youngest daughter up off the floor, taking her in the restroom to clean her up. And a roach was crawling up her back. And I knocked that roach off, and that was it. I was done. I was done with him. I was done with being poor and broke for the rest of my life. I was done with everything, you know. And I knew God didn't intend. I said, this ain't the way it's supposed to be. You know, it's not like I'm not supposed to be down in the valley with my children. And that's when I, you know, just started figuring things out. You know, so, and I tell people, too, I tell women, my biggest mistake, because I made mistakes, I'm human.
Sure.
You know, I love and I love marriage. I do. You know, but I tell people, take your time. Even though the second man walks to the car, opened the door for me, you know, and he pretends to be this honest person, he was stealing money from me. You know, he was cheating as well. So what I did was I jumped from one relationship thinking I'm going to forget about the last one and got with someone else. That was my biggest mistake of my life, and I talk about that because I'm human, and I don't want other women. I believe in love and I believe in marriage, but get to know that person. You can't just forget about one person.
And get to know yourself and be secure.
Get to know yourself.
And be secure with being by yourself and being strong enough.
By yourself.
And find out who you are, what you need, what's important to you, and love yourself enough to walk away from things that aren't filling up your tank, aren't making you happy, where you appreciate yourself, but you're not seeing that from your partner.
And when you meet, and another thing, when you meet people, you do have to be confident with yourself and love yourself. That's so women that. But at the same time, and men too. But also, you have to get to know that person. Because when you first meet a person in that court stage, everything is so good. You know what I'm saying? And everything's not going to always be peaches and ice cream. But when you see those really heavy red flags, you know, I'm talking about where somebody seems like they're so angry that they can raise their fist back like Mayweather and hit you. You know? And certain things is not tolerable.
Exactly. We all have our list. And it's important, part of self-love is having a list of what your non-negotiable boundaries that cannot be passed within a relationship, what your no-go, return to sender, do not pass go.
That's right, absolutely.
Because in love and life and relationships, if you don't know what you stand for and what you will and won't stand for, people will just run over you like a steamroller.
Absolutely, you're so right. And like again, I do believe in love, and I do believe that there's love out there, and people have soulmates.
Mm-hmm.
But with me, you have to take your time
Yes.
to really know. Okay, this has been 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Go down the road when you start seeing these red flags.
Right.
I mean, take heed to them. Everything's not going to always be perfect, but communication is the key.
Mm-hmm.
If you see that this man is a cheater, don't wave it off.
Right. He will be. And it's also to how you approach things together, how you solve problems, how you overcome stress and obstacles together, which really measures not only the healthiness of the relationship, but of your partner.
Right. And then the thing is, like I say, I tell people because I have experienced it. I've actually walked these shoes, and I'm not ashamed to tell it, because it's helping some young woman out there. And I tell young women, you all are me. You all are me, meaning that the things that you all are going through, I've been there. I've been through it. And through my wisdom and knowledge, I want to help you. I want you to do good, and I know you can. I'm a survivor. I'm an unbreakable survivor. And I tell everybody else, you all are unbreakable survivors, too. If I can survive all the things that I've gone through, and I'm not ashamed. 5 husbands, homeless, self-made millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
And I also add, I had 4 children. Some people don't have. I had 4 babies that I had to think about. Not just Katrina. I had to think about my children. Every decision that I made, I had to make sure my babies were okay, that my children were okay.
And, of course, there's so much I admire about you, Katrina, but also through, your many struggles and obstacles, tests, trials, you have come through the other side not only wise but not bitter and not resentful and angry. And that's something I think we all struggle with when we're in the pit of the upsetment of life, the disappointment, the hurt, and the pain. Coming through the other side healed but not angry, bitter, or resentful.
No, I'm not angry, bitter, or resentful. First of all, I just know that everybody's different. I would never have in my mind that because I was married that every man is bad. That's not true. That is not true. There's still some good people in this world. I've met some great people along the way, And I'm not angry, bitter, or mad. Sometimes we go through things in life. But when they talk about that lemon to lemonade, that's what it is.
Exactly.
The word through means you get over on the other side. You're not going to always be standing right there in that smoke. You're going to come out on the other side. And when you come out on that other side, you're going to be more resilient. You're going to be stronger. You're just gonna be wiser. It's just all kind of great things that's going on. And I believe in happiness. And I am a person I'm a soul believer in love. And in my mind, I just wish I could just make this world a happy place.
Yes.
Everything ain't going to be happy, but I'm a happy woman, regardless of what I've been. I just don't sit up and dwell on bad stuff. I just believe in good stuff, and I just believe in being happy. That's what life is really all about. You're going to go through things, but believe in being happy. And I believe in love, and I believe in good stuff.
Me too. And, sometimes before it becomes automatic again, when we're going through the mix of it in life, we have to tell ourselves to be happy and tell ourselves to look at the bright side. It's like you have to constantly be programming and reprogramming your mind, not to get stuck in, they say, stinking thinking, right?
Yeah, overthinking, thinking.
Yes, overanalyzing.
Yes, absolutely. You're so right. Overanalyze. You have to think positive. You have to change. People that think negative, you got to turn that off and think positive, because you are your thoughts, and that's what I tell people. It's true.
Right.
And I've never been a negative thinker, and it could have happened to me.
Sure.
My mother, like I say again in the book, I talk about seeing her have a nervous breakdown. So I saw a lot, and I saw women that were beat. That's why I thought I was going to be Joe Cleaver. One lady I saw, my best friend's mother was beat in the head with a hammer by her jealous husband. Beat in the head with a hammer.
Wow.
You know, so, I mean, and it sounds horrible, and it was horrible as a little girl to wake up and see women with sunglasses on. Or to hear stories about the man having another family down the street. I mean, to hear this is real talk I'm talking about. And to say that, hey, I'm not going to be that way. You know, that's not going to happen to me. But it did happen to me. Maybe I wasn't beat in the head with a hammer, but I was mentally abused.
But look at Wendy Williams. The same thing just happened to her. So it goes to show, you know, no matter what lane in life you walk, that these things can happen.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch you said something happened.
Oh, yes. I was saying you were talking about, you know, growing up, you had women who were married and their husbands had families down the street. Well, that actually just happened to Wendy Williams. Of course. You know, her husband had been cheating on her.
I saw this. Do you hear me? I saw this as a little girl. You know, I saw my younger sisters, their dad, before child support ever was, you know, for men, you know, have to take care of their children. You know, my mom was sent, I never knew who my father was until I got to be about 26 years old, and I begged and begged and begged her to tell me. But my two younger sisters, their fathers, my mother would send them to his home on payday to live with his mother, and I had to go with them. Do you know that this grown man would run and hide behind the door from his own two kids?
Wow.
And it's just horrible seeing things like that. You know, or just knowing that these are things that I lived and I expressed in all. I left nothing out of that group. Everything that I thought I could think of, you know, I wanted the world to know. And as I had a party, Reverend Al Sharpton hosted, and he thanked me for, you know, not being ashamed and sharing my life, you know, with the world. And I'm glad that I did, and I pray to God that it helped many people, men and women, because I also talk about men. My great uncle seeing his wife talk about his mother, call her all kind of words that I can't repeat on air, but
of course,
you know, as a little girl standing there at 8 years old and 9 years old, loving my uncle and saying, why don't you just leave him alone in my mind? But I couldn't get her to be quiet. You know, that's mental abuse. And I like for people to know the difference. You know, just because somebody may not sock you in your eye, but they can chisel around at your brain. And I think
exactly.
So yes.
And sometimes, you know, cuts, scrapes, bruises can heal, but the damage that someone does to another person's spirit and the trauma can stay with them for a lifetime, unless they have the right support system around them.
Right. And also, you know, Lord, everybody's mind is not the same. It may be something I can endure, you may not be able to endure, something you can endure that I can't.
Exactly.
You know, because I had a friend, she lost her life because she was with the same guy since she was 15. And he cheated on her, and she had, they said Alzheimer's. But in your 40s,
wow.
40s, you know, and he stuck her in a stinky, dirty, nasty, filthy nursing home. All of that is in my book. I didn't leave it out. I did not leave it out.
Well, I think it's so important. It's so important, you know, as we all go through our different trials and tribulations, to share, because there are more people going through what you're going through that you may realize, and then it will, these, you know, acts of speaking publicly, writing books, you know, it encourages people to step outside of their own trauma and step into the world of healing.
Yes, and the only way that we're going to heal is to talk about things. You understand? Because a lot of times people walk around, they're dressed up, they're made up, their makeup is flawless, you know, and they got their heels on, and then they're going home to the mental abuse or somebody kicking their butt or beating up on the kids, you know. We got to talk about these things, you know. We got to talk. I mean, you may not be able to talk to everybody, but I always say, find you a good friend, you know. Because some of the things, my mother used to say, some of the things that I go through, you know, other women my own age, or, you know, older, whatever, they have gone through it or they're going through some of the same things.
And I think it's also important that all of us are resources of loving support when people come to you and they're vulnerable and they open up about different serious situations that they're experiencing, not to belittle that person, not to brush it aside, not to make them feel whatever it is.
They'll make it public because some people are private.
Yeah.
Some people don't want everybody to know this.
Exactly.
So, when they come to you and they come to you in confidence, that means they trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be between you, them, and the garbage can.
Exactly. And sometimes they don't even want you to do anything but listen. And, sometimes in meaning well, we can go tell this person or that person to try and help, but in actuality, it can make it worse. So Katrina, you said such an important thing right there about respecting people's trust and privacy. And when someone's turning to you, to really listen and to help them in the way that they need the help.
Right. My sister-in-law, again, so many things has happened, but I was so close to her. She was married to my brother. My brother died before her, and she just recently passed about 3 years ago. But we were so close. And, she told one of her friends, a close friend of hers, they went to, first grade together, right? And she told one of her friends that I knew all of her secrets, and she could trust. She hadn't even told her best friend from her.
Wow.
And she knew that I would take those secrets with me, to my grave. That's how much she trusted me. And it's true. She would talk to me about everything, but I would never, ever, ever, because that was between her and I.
You're right.
Those were her secrets, and I'll forever guard them. I'll forever guard them. She was my friend. She was my sister. She was.
Now, Katrina, you have won many awards, one of which you spoke at the Memphis National Civil Rights Museum 50th anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination. So tell us a bit about that. I mean, I can imagine that was just such an experience.
It really, really, really was, because when that anniversary came up, it opened up a whole lot, for me, and just even standing there, because they took pictures of us with holding the sign, I am a man, being there, just being a part of it, and of the whole movement was phenomenal. Like I say again, being that little girl, it just opened up, I just, so many memories, because, of, trash being everywhere and Dr. King's life, how, everybody, just came together again. It was just, it was phenomenal to be able to be on that stage and be a part of such an amazing platform. It was just, it was amazing.
Now, in addition to your book, all your creative and business endeavors, you also do national seminars called the Lift Each Other Up seminars. So tell our listeners a bit about that.
Okay, the Lift Each Other, I came up with the idea of, I said, women lift each other up shoulder to shoulder. We have to help each other. As women, as men, as people, we have to help each other. Katrina Walker, if I say that I did it all myself, I never did everything myself. I can't. I need help. I need women to go out and buy this book. I need men. I need people to support me. I need people to come and say, hey, in order for the word to get out about unbreakable. So, lift each other up. It was phenomenal. I decided to do this big event where vendors could come out, other women and men, but I think basically it was a lot of women that were there, able to give them an opportunity to sell some of the things that they had created, and just help to lift them up with their business ventures and things that they were doing, and they, I mean, there's so many creative people. I often, and I think this wholeheartedly, there's so many people that we don't know about that have so many talents. They're sitting somewhere, I say on somebody's board, like I did the stage play this week. kitchen. That was my mother. She kept a whole event together, but nobody would have known her. It's people that people do know, like the wonderful Mayo Angelou. I love it, you know. But there's so many wonderful trailblazers that's out there, men, women, and children that people just don't even know about. So I try to give people the opportunity to showcase their talents, because there's so many talents and talented people, you know, and everyone has a pitch. Everybody has a pitch. Somebody else may be sewing, but there's so many creative people. So we just lift each other up. That's what the event was about. So
Fantastic.
Vendors from all over just coming out. It was not a big fee. It was basically free. You didn't have to really pay much. You know, just come out and bring your things and set it up. And I paid for the building and everything like that. You know, I love giving back. I love being able to help, you know, and that's what it's all about.
And now, Katrina, if our listeners want to purchase your amazing book, Unbreakable, where can they go to purchase your book and follow you on social media and all the things you have coming up?
Okay. They can, if they want to purchase the book, they can go on Amazon and get that book. It's under Unbreakable, the Katrina Walker story. And it's also Kindle, or just to purchase the book itself, so they'll have a hard copy. Also, they can go on my website and purchase the book, and I'll personally autograph it. You can go on my website, Miss, and that's M-S, Katrina, that's spelled Katrina, Walker, WALKER.com. Again, if you go on my website, I will sign the book, autograph the book, and ship it to you myself personally.
Fantastic.
Also, I would love for everybody to follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is Miss Katrina Walker. The only thing that is not Miss Katrina Walker as far as social media, that would be Facebook, and it's the T-H-E Katrina Walker. But just remember, Instagram, YouTube, it's Miss Katrina Walker.
Well, thank you, Katrina, for bringing all of your words of wisdom and empowerment on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you. So, listeners, make sure you follow Katrina Walker on all of her social media platforms and pick up her book, Unbreakable, to just learn so many amazing and empowering life lessons. Keep it locked into Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and friends. We're going to pop into our next musical break, and we'll be back after this.
It doesn't matter if you love him or capital H-I-M. Just put your paws up, 'cause you were born this way, baby. My mama told me when I was young, we're all born superstars. She rolled my hair, put my lipstick on, in a glass of her boudoir. There's nothing wrong with loving who you are, she said, 'cause he made you perfect, babe. So hold your head up, girl, and you'll go far. There's an umbrella to say, I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause I make no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Don't hurt yourself and regret, just love yourself instead. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. There ain't no other way, baby, I was born this way. Baby, I was born this way. There ain't no other way, baby, I was born this way. Right track, baby, I was born this way. Don't be a drag, just be a queen. Don't be a drag, just be a queen. Don't be a drag, just be a queen. Give yourself prudence and love your friends. Subway kid, rejoice with truth. In the religion of the insecure, I must be myself, respect my youth. A different law is not a sin, believe capital H-I-M. I don't allow I love this record and me, I'm on it, rolling by eyes. I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way.
be a drag, just be a queen. Whether you're broke or evergreen, your black, white, beige, chola descent, you're Lebanese, you're Orient. Whether life's disabilities left you outcast but leader teased, rejoice and love yourself today, cause baby, you were born this way.
No matter gay, straight or bi, lesbian, transgender life, I'm on the right track, baby, I was born to survive. No matter black, white or beige, chola or Orient made, I'm on the right track, baby, I was born to be brave. I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Don't let yourself have regret, 'cause love yourself instead. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way, yeah. Ooh, there ain't no other way, baby, I was born this way. Baby, I was born this way, born this way. There ain't no other way, baby, I was born down on the right track, baby, I was born this way. I was born this way, hey, I was born this way, hey, I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way, hey, I was born this way, hey, I was born this way, hey, I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way, hey. Same DNA, but born this way. Same DNA, but born this way. I'm going backwards through time at the speed of light. I'm yours, you're mine, two satellites, not alone. No, we're not alone. A freeze frame of your eye in the strobe light, sweat dripping down from your brow. Hold tight, don't let go. Baby, don't make me spell it out for you. All of the feelings that I got for you can't be explained, but I can try for you. Yeah, baby, don't make me spell it out for you. You keep on asking me the same questions. Why? And second guessing all my intentions. Should know by the way I use my compression that you got the answers to my confessions. It's like I'm powerful with a little bit of tender and emotional sexual bender. Mess me up, yeah, but no one does it better. There's nothing better. That's just the way you make me feel. 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 So good, so good, so fucking real. That's just the way you make me feel. That's just the way you make me feel. That's just the way you make me feel. You know I love you, so please don't stop it. You got me right here in your jean pocket, right now, laying your body on the shag carpet. Oh, you know I love it, so please don't stop it. It's like I'm powerful with a little bit of tender and emotional sexual bender. Mess me up, yeah, but no one does it better. There's nothing better. That's just the way you make me feel. 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 So good, so good, so fucking real. That's just the way you make me feel. That's just the way you make me feel. That's just the way you make me feel. That's just the way that I feel now, baby. Good God, I can't help it. Hey, that's just the way that I feel. Yeah, please, I can't help it. It's like I'm powerful with a little bit of tender and emotional sexual bender. Mess me up, yeah, but no one does it better. There's nothing better. Damn. That's just the way you make me feel. That's just the way you make me feel. So good, so good, so fucking good. That's just the way you make me feel. That's just the way you make me feel. You do it. That's just the way you make me feel. You make me feel so good, so fucking good. So good, so good, yeah. That's just the way you make me feel. That's just the way you make me feel.
And welcome back to Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and Friends Radio. So, I hope you gained some great enlightenment from Katrina today. So, of course, as we said at the top of the show, we're getting ready to celebrate the 4th of July holiday tomorrow, and I hope everybody has a wonderful and joyous holiday. But, you know, there are many people who will not be having a joyous holiday, and that we really need to be, as we think about freedom, think about some of our citizens right now who are not enjoying freedom. So, of course, we are a nation founded on, through immigration. But right now we are in the middle of an immigration crisis. So, there are detainment centers throughout California and Texas right now that are overcrowded, holding stations, as they're being called, which are really just inhumane, overcrowded. There's ones that are supposed to house 76 people that have 126 people in, or that are supposed to house around 100 and have 400 people in these, in basically like internment camps. camps. So as the Trump administration starts gathering up what they are deeming as illegal immigrants, many of these immigrants that have children are being separated from their children, and the children are being contained and housed in these holding areas where they're not having enough water, food. President Trump has deemed that it's not necessary for them to have hygiene products, so they're not having access to soap, water, toiletries, being able to have access to the bathroom. So, of course, just like when we had Katrina and other floods and hurricanes where, mass amounts of people are being crammed into these areas with no light, toiletries, etc., that's causing disease, being surrounded by bacteria, not being able to breathe properly. Many of these immigrant children are just standing on the toilets to get air to be able to breathe. So these are inhumane conditions, and children should not have to pay this kind of price, should not be traumatized, as the Trump administration yields its reckless hand in the inhumane way that it's executing its immigration policy. So how can we help? How can you, sitting in your office listening to our show, or riding the bus, or walking around the mall, how can we help all the children who are trapped in these immigration detainment centers, not being able to drink, eat, cleanse themselves, and they're traumatized? How can we help? Well, there's many things that you can do. First of all, in November, is to mobilize and vote President Trump out of office. That's the first thing that we can all do. And we need to stop saying that America elected Trump, because new statistics have come out that over 50% of the American public didn't vote in the last presidential election, which means, if we further break down the numbers, that half of 50%, which is really 25% of the population, the most racist, bigoted, and mentally backward percent of our population, elected this man to office. So as we're seeing hate crimes skyrocket, the immigration crisis, and many of our civil rights and rights of choice evaporating, the biggest thing we can do is really be conscious of who we vote and get out to the polls and not make excuses and not just assume that the person that you think should win will win, but I'm not going to bother because this is the result of what happened. So that's number one. Research the platforms of all of your local, state, and national representatives and get involved. So next, we can contribute to charities such as Project Corazon Travel, which funds and sends lawyers to detention centers and refugee camps. So imagine, you're a young child, you can't speak the language, you've been separated from your parents, you're 8, you don't know your legal rights, but even children have rights under the law. and should be treated with humanity and respect. So, the biggest thing we can also do is if you have frequent flyer miles and you're not going to travel this year, instead of, let's just hoard them and think of that trip to Europe or something that I may do, pledge your frequent flyer miles to help get more lawyers to the borders. That is something that you can easily do. It doesn't cost anything. You're not risking, if you're afraid if you come out on certain issues, you might lose your job or this or that. Just giving someone your miles so they can hop on a plane to go help these children is a gift, and that's empowerment, and you're both helping. And if volunteer your time and expertise. If you're multilingual and you can do so, go down there to be an advocate for these children, and help if you have time and you're an immigration lawyer, help asylum seekers. But especially if you're bilingual, these children need lawyers or volunteers who are familiar with the law, who can translate. These children are terrified, they're traumatized, they most likely will never see their families again. So, even helping them speak, and understand what's happening in a situation that they have no control of is a way in which we can help. And of course, if you're a lawyer, partner with various immigrant rights organizations. So I think one of the biggest ways we can all help is, first of all, opening our eyes to what's going on in plain daylight. Children dying in ditches, parents who are at these detainment camps who are committing suicide with their children. As Trump wants to build a parade with tanks and bang on the chest of how amazing America is. Our country is so messed up right now. And there's so many of us that can help just through simple things. But the biggest way you can help is we all have social media. Share what's going on. Honestly talk about it and care. That is one of the biggest things that we can do to help all the people going through these injustices and inhumanities, is caring and being connected and giving them a light, just like what's going on in Somalia and the Sudan. Not just being wrapped up in our TV and going to the mall and who said what to me and what's on TV and all this, but actually be aware of what's going on in the world and use your platforms, because we all have a platform, whether it's talking to our friends at a bar, whether it's putting it on social media, whether it's calling up some organization and saying, how can I help? Every effort helps. Every effort means something. And I would like to think that if you were in a situation like that the people around you would help you. So we have an obligation to each other, when we know pain and suffering and injustice is going on in the world, to be involved. And, as we're celebrating our freedom, realize that there are many in our own country right now who aren't free or don't feel free, and to never take our freedom for granted. So we're going to finish off with our last musical break, and we'll be back with more Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and friends next week. I hope that everyone has an amazing holiday. Those of us celebrating here in the States, of course, you can follow me on Instagram at SRPKLDiva, and follow and like the Style and Empowerment Chat with Laura and Friends Facebook page. You know, I just leave you with the thought that we all are connected by love and energy, and we have a choice every day of how we're going to treat each other and what we're going to stand for. I hope you have a week filled with love, and you are feeling empowered and knowing your power and strength, and we will be back next week. So take us out with another happy song, Lady C, and we'll see you next week.